Hello, bonjour, namaste, ni hao, and ohio, everybody. What is going on? It is Galeriot here. Welcome back to the YouTube channel once again for another Danmachi Memoria Freese video. And today we're going to be going over the balance adjustments and buffs that the Entrusted Zard and Alfia will be getting. These guys are, of course, the pre-4th anniversary releases. Of course, they were part of the first Australia record rerun way back in 2020, I think it was. Yeah, I think it is 2020. And as a result, they're finally getting their buffs, of course. It was due, to be quite honest. I'm surprised that they didn't release the bell as well alongside them. Of course, when they came out way back when, there was a bell as well as the Zard and Alfia. We're only getting the buffs for the Zard and Alfia, which is really weird, to be quite honest. I know some people are suggesting that, of course, you know, the bell was voted for being a part of the banner and he's not technically part of the Australia record event and stuff like that, but he's still linked to the Zard and Alfia, so I don't understand why they didn't just buff that bell as well. But of course, we're going to be seeing how good these guys are, of course, right? Post their buffs, we're going to be seeing if they're worth summoning for, right? Because trust me when I say this, there's going to be a lot of banners live this Thursday. We have this banner with the Zard and Alfia live. We of course have the existing banners with the Zard and Alfia, the time limited ones that we just got as part of the What If story release, right? Along with that, we have the anime gacha banners live. We have the short-haired Lafia banner live still, right? For another week. And then on top of that, along with the Zard and Alfia, this Thursday we're going to be getting the light novel releases rerun as well. So a couple of months ago, for the Australia record publication release, right, the actual physical light novel release of Australia record, we got a couple of units each month from October to December to celebrate the releases of volumes 1 to 3 from October, November, and December. And of course, we had a new Alize, a new Ardi, a new Lyra Kaguya. We had a new Erebus in Australia as well, right? And all of them are going to be getting their reruns this Thursday as well, alongside the Zard and Alfia. And I'm not gonna lie, I do think that they may be better options to summon for than the Zard and Alfia. We'll get into that later on in the video, of course. If you guys want to enjoy this video, please be sure to leave a like down below. Subscribe to the channel for more Danmachi and Danmachi Memoria Freese content. And let me know what you guys plan on summoning for this Thursday. Are you guys planning on summoning on anything? Or are you just gonna skip everything and start saving up for the next Hero Festa? Or even Anniversary? Because remember, Anniversary is only 3 months away. We're only 3 months out from the 6th anniversary of Danmachi Memoria Freese. So let me know what you guys are planning on doing. I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say down below. Now, let's go over the Zard and Alfia first, and then we'll talk about what you should actually summon for. Of course, I will be doing a should you summon on Thursday as well, going over all the banners and seeing how valuable they are. But right now, we're gonna see how good these guys' buffs are. Now, last week, we did obviously get some very basic translations from myself. I actually did those translations. I'm not too confident in those, to be quite honest, so I'm gonna rely on Google Translate to actually help us out here today, of course, and hopefully get better translations compared to last week. But from my memory, and I'm not gonna lie, I've completely forgotten what they do. I do think that the Zard and Alfia got a little better, but they weren't meta defining by any means of the imagination. And especially right now, we're in a scenario where a lot of the teams that are running about are running the same set of units. There's no difference between you know, any of the units, and there's no replacement for them unless it's a completely fresh brand new unit, right? So if you look at the physical team, it's the same set of units. It's that you know, Eyes in Wonderland Eyes, of course, right? Then you have the Kaguya, the time limited Kaguya, which is going to be getting a re-release this week. We have, of course, stall teams running about with the Strayus and the new Ardi, right? We have the Magic teams with Hero Festa, Alize, and stuff, right, going about. So right now the meta is quite diverse, but the units that are part of those teams are pretty much samey. There's no really big replacement option for any of those units right now, right? So as a result, this Zard and Alfia, obviously units that are only getting buffs, right? Remember how Danmachi Memoria Freese is, you know, their buffs aren't really out of this world. More often than not, they're very basic buffs. Some of them can end up being really good. Some of them can be very average. And I think this Zard and Alfia will probably end up on the more average side, in all honesty. But let's have a look see. So yeah, their stats don't change, which I don't know how I feel about, to be quite honest. I'm not the biggest fan of you know, keeping stats the same for the most part. Of course, I can see that his endurance has gone up, but Zard is a unit that could have you could have used a little bit more agility, right? Especially considering how fast units are nowadays. And I'll still maintain their HP stats need to go up just a teeny tiny bit. I don't understand why it's a struggle for them to just increase their HP by like 200, 300. Not even, I'm not asking for them to go up to like 5000 HP or anything of that sort. Make it at least somewhat usable to the point where, you know, you're not hitting basically a glass cannon, you know, you're not hitting a glass cannon. So that's my only point with some of these buffs basically. So yeah, let's look at the special arts first and foremost, right? So Rhea Ambrosia. So of course the ultra physical fire physical attack will stay the same. He does get a high chance of critical, it seems like, or an ultra chance of critical, it seems like, which is good. That's a big upgrade over the before adjustment, because, of course, before adjustment, there was no critical chance whatsoever, right? So the fact that it's gotten an ultra critical chance is very good for sure, right? The temporary grade strength boost is still there, which is fine. And now, in the initial one, it was reduces STR and magic of all enemies by 50% for 2 turns. Now it is for 5 turns, reduce STR, magic, physical res, and M-res by 50% of all enemies, which is not bad at all in my personal opinion, in all honesty. That's not bad at all. Of course, you know, you could say that this will be really good going up against, you know, potentially the likes of a PvE enemy as well, right? Being able to reduce their physical and magic res by 50%. I know there are some units that can do minus 60%, but even minus 50% is not bad at all, especially if you don't have one of those options, right? And if you have this guy MLB, it's a great option. I wouldn't necessarily say this is something you should go for if you don't have the unit whatsoever, but it's nice to have that adjustment as well and addition as well, you know. And then of course for 2 turns has gone down to 5 turns now, or gone up to 5 turns I should say. He increases his own power by 120% now rather than just 100%, so that's good upgrade. And increase your physical res and magic res by 60% instead of 50%. Again, pretty darn solid, really nice. I think this is decent overall. Nothing too crazy, I would say. It's nothing revolutionary or anything, but it's a good modernization, I suppose, of, you know, making sure that the buffs are up to a modern standard, a 5th anniversary standard at least, you know. Of course, we're getting closer to the 6th anniversary, which will probably go up a level, obviously, right? But this is still relatively decent, I would say. So let's go over to his first skill, Ablation now. So originally it was for 5 turns, increase power of all allies, so strength of all allies by 40%, and increase damage of fire attacks, so fire attack damage by 50%, and give yourself 3 additional actions of medium physical fire attack on all enemies. Now it is a fast buff basically, rather than it just being a basic buff. It's a fast buff, which means he'll go first more likely than not, and for 5 turns increase the strength and fire attack damage of all allies by 50%, which actually, I'm thinking about it, I think that would not be what's bad whatsoever for a potential nuking fire magic Elise, because obviously, you know, I know a lot of people, some people are actually, not a lot of people, but some people are actually running like a nuking fire magic Elise, where she uses spark ignition and deals like 20,000 damage basically. I'm very curious to see how good he would fit into that sort of composition where he's able to help out Elise by giving her that fire attack damage up potentially. I'm very curious. I know that I think it's his name is Fen. He uses this sort of composition, so I'm very curious to see if, you know, this Zard would kind of fit into that sort of team. He also reduces the damage of so he reduces the damage received by AoE attacks and single targets by 60% for himself. It's not a allies thing. I wish it was an allies thing. It would have made him insanely broken, in all honesty, for the stall team, but it's only for self. And in addition, give yourself the following additional action 3 times. So it's a medium physical fire damage to all enemies, so similar to the top one, but it's also got a 50% chance to taunt. Not bad at all. I think, again, for ailment, it would help. Or just adding into that ailment thing, it would help, I suppose, right? If you're planning on using it, it may come in handy, especially if the enemies don't have any sort of null ailments or anything. It's just a 50% chance that can be procced, right? So now, his second skill was originally a slow high fire physical attack on all enemies and temporary strength boost, and increases damage taken by all enemies by 35% for 2 turns. So all enemies will take an increased damage by 35% from AoE attacks. Now his second skill will be a high uncounterable fire attribute physical attack that is slow and powerful to all enemies. So it's still high, it's still slow, it just has a high uncounterable ability. It still has the temporary strength boost, and for 4 turns all attack damage taken by all enemies is increased by 40%. So it's gone from 35% to 40%, and now it's for 4 turns. And he also reduces the heal rate and taunt res by 40%. That's not bad, in all honesty. I would say that's actually not bad. It kind of helps his first skill, of course, right? It's a little bit more cohesive now. So I think that's not bad at all, I would say. That's not bad. Alright. So his third skill is a high critical rate fire attribute physical attack on all enemies, and raises power or temporary strength boost only when skill is activated, and extends the status reduction effect, so status debuffs of all enemies by 1 turn, and it's a 50% chance to provoke all enemies. Okay, interesting. So that third skill now doesn't have the taunt. The taunt has gone up to the first skill. Oh, I see what they've done here. Okay, so they've basically shifted the taunt skill to the first skill, part of the additional actions. And now his third skill is a high critical fire attribute physical attack on all enemies, temporary strength boost only when the skill is activated, and it extends the status reduction effect of all enemies by 2 turns, so status debuff extension by 2 turns, and reduces the status buffs of all enemies by 2 turns. Okay, that's pretty cool. That's a very interesting adjustment. I think that would be kind of interesting and helpful, to be quite honest, for when you're going up against potentially like I would say potentially like stall, potentially, right? That could be handy, of course, right? Because you know how stall is. They have like 4 or 5 turns worth of damage reduction and stuff like that. So stuff like this could help out tremendously, could help out tremendously. Okay, so increases win res by 35%. I've said this multiple times. I don't know why they don't update this to 45% now, especially because a lot of modern units have 45% resistances. But that's okay. It is what it is. Recovers HP by 60% of the damage dealt when counterattacking, and reduces the strength of a single enemy by 45% for 2 turns. Ooh, not bad, not bad. Alright, when equipped with the two-handed sword, increase critical damage by 40%. Okay, and strength, endurance, and dexterity increased by 40%. I don't know why they didn't add agility to this. It would have been fine, in all honesty, if they added agility. And his P-res and M-res has gone up by 5%. That's good. That's good, I would say. Alright, Entrusted Sound Alfia. Let's see what they've done to my mommy Alfia, I suppose. Let's see. So endurance has gone up. No changes to magic, no changes to agility, no changes to dexterity. Of course, we can ignore strength. That's fine. Alright, so let's look at the special arts now. So ultra penetration rate, light magic attack on all enemies. So that stayed the same. The power of this technique increases by 100% for each increased effect on your magic power. And right now, before the update, it's only a temporary grade magic boost. So that means it's gone up to 200% damage. Thumbs up. Hugely massive adjustment there. Honestly, that is going to be very, very good for a lot of reasons, in all honesty, especially PvE. I would say more so than anything else. I think that's going to be great to have, honestly. Is it a game-breaking thing? No, for sure not, but it's something that's going to be extremely useful for players who are wanting to run a light magic team in game modes like Familiar Rush, Familiar Royale, potentially even Record Buster, so I'd take this. I'd 100% take this, in all honesty. Alright, first skill has changed from slow to fast. Thumbs up already there. Beautiful. Now increases own light attribute attack damage by 100%, so that stayed the same. And magic rest, guard rate, and counter rate by 70% for 5 turns. Wow, okay. Interesting. So she's effectively gonna guard massively against magic teams, which is, in all honesty, low-key. With the amount of magic teams going about, if you have her at +5, she might end up becoming a pretty decent option. Of course, it's only for herself, right? It's not for the entire team. If it was for the entire team, she would immediately be like one of the best units to have in a magic composition, of course, right? Or just in any light team composition, even, I would say, right? Going with maybe, like, for example, you could have her, Finn, maybe Lazar, I would say. Maybe not Lazar, but maybe like Fianna and Belle or something like that. And you could be living extremely good potentially, because right now, obviously, like I said earlier on, a lot of players are running the magic team. So it's kind of like you need to have some sort of protection. And I mean, magic res by 70% is a pretty hefty amount. I wouldn't, again, like I said earlier on with Zard, there is good qualities here, but is it just worth summoning for her just because of what's happening right now in the meta? Not really, no. I would still say, like, be very hesitant when summoning for these characters, right? Also increase the counter rate and god rate of all allies by 40% for 5 turns. Really nice there as well. In addition, give yourself the following additional actions 3 times: medium power, high penetration rate, light attribute attack, magic attack on all enemies, and also recover 60% of your own HP. Very similar to what the obviously time limited Wind Alfia does right now, of course, right? The one that's just released, right? Very similar thing, because she also has a heal on her additional attack, so that's kind of nice, I suppose. Rhapsody, the second skill, powerful light attribute magic attack on all enemies, raises power, so temporary magic boost. For 3 turns, increase magic for of all allies by 40% and reduce magic res by 35% of all enemies. Now it is a high on guard, so high on guard light attribute magic attack that hits all enemies. Temporary magic boost is still there, and for 3 turns, increase magic power of all allies by 50% and decrease magic res of all enemies by 40%. That's not bad, you know. So 50% magic boost to all allies, 40% magic res down, and then also in addition removes the effect of increasing the agility of all enemies and reducing the damage of all attacks. Nice. I think that's pretty decent. I mean, again, it helps out with removing the agility buffs of all enemies and AoE damage reduction, right? Which is kind of nice in all honesty. It's going to remove the AoE damage reductions specifically, not single targets, so that's something to bear in mind as well, but still kind of handy. The only issue is, right, it's not a fast ability, so it's still gonna have its niggling issues, but it's a good thing to have, I'd suppose, for sure. The third skill has stayed the exact same, so it's a powerful light attribute magic attack on a single enemy, temporary great magic boost only when skill is activated, and they've changed the MP cost. That's about it. Okay, so dark res, of course, when countering, give yourself null magic attack immunity. In addition, cancels the magic power increase of a single enemy. You know what? She isn't a bad option to go up against a magic composition, in all honesty. She might actually be pretty decent there. Damage increase by 60% when counter occurs. Magic agility, endurance, and dexterity by 35%. 20% more damage on crit and penetration hits. Alright, not bad. Really solid. I like Alfia a little bit more than I like Zard, in all honesty, but that's also because of what she's able to do, especially going up against magic teams and stuff, right? That being said, though, I mean, I still don't think it's worth summoning for these two characters, in all honesty. Their buffs are pretty solid, right? And I think a lot of people will find use in this Alfia. I think a lot of people will find a use in this Alfia, especially because when we're going up against the plethora of magic teams, a lot of whales who want to, you know, basically go up against those magic teams will use this Alfia for sure, right? But again, I would say it's a whale that would probably summon for this, or alternatively, it's somebody who already has this Alfia +5, because remember, these guys are rerunning, right? So it's not like this is their first time coming around or anything of that sort. These guys have come around one time before already, and some people already have them at MLB or near enough MLB, right? So it's easier for them to get them to +5, whereas for you, it may not be so easy. And on top of that, right, this week we're also getting, like I mentioned earlier on, we're getting the light novel re-releases, right? The new Artie, the Elise, the Lyra, the Kaguya, the Estrella. Erebus is ignorable, to be quite honest. Nobody uses Erebus. Let's be real. If you're using Erebus, you're lying to yourself and you're lying to me, all right? But if you want really good units, those 5 are still used to this day by a lot of players in war games and PvE as well. Lyra is a fantastic option for the magic team. So is Elise. Kaguya is a great option for the physical team. You're seeing her being run in, you know, turn 2 rush teams consistently. Then you have Artie, who is a phenomenal option for those running a stall team with Astreus, right? And then of course you have Estrella, who's a null ailment ×4 unit. So you have all of these units doing one thing or another for one team or 2 teams that are so in the meta right now and have, you know, positions in those teams, right? It's not like they're easily replaceable units. They are key integral units for those compositions. So you might be swayed towards summoning for them more so than anything else. And then on top of that, like I said earlier on, the anniversary is only 3 months away. I think for a lot of players, it's probably smarter to save up, because one, we're gonna get a Hero Festa at the end of this month or at the start of April. We know that there is a Hero Festa planned for the spring season. We just don't know when. It's probably gonna be alongside the release of the Sword Oratory Volume 10 release, which is most likely going to be towards the end of this month, I'd assume, or at the start of April. And as a result, there's going to be a Hero Festa, and then we're obviously going to get the anniversary, which is going to obviously have so many banners. You know, if previous records have to suggest anything, we're going to have at least 5 banners minimum during the anniversary, which will be a 2 to 3 month anniversary. So you'll have enough time to save in between with War Games and Record Buster. But going into the anniversary, ideally you want to have like 12,000 Iris minimum. I would say 10 to 12,000 easily you want to have that much Iris. So in all honesty, it really is smarter to probably start saving up for those banners instead, right? Probably start focusing on saving up for that. And not to mention, we also have the anime gachas left. We have 2 more anime gachas left, this week's episode and next week's episode. So that's also something to consider. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought of this Alfia and Zard. Do you guys plan on summoning for them? Again, like I said, I will reiterate it in the should you summon, but I personally don't think you should be summoning on these banners. Personally, if you're an average Joe player, you are a maybe Dolphin or something like that, your spending is very low or you don't spend at all, it's probably smarter to start saving up and start focusing for the future banners and stuff like that. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please be sure to leave a like down below, subscribe to the channel for more Danmachi content, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take it easy, everybody. Bye bye.